Yeah.
Sweet. Part 2.
All right, so fun. Let's just see if
Bathroom break.
this dude like answers. We'll see if he does. I'm not gonna even tell you who it is.
So we're doing a segment where we're just Bilby is calling somebody random, see if they pick up. This better be good.
Brother, what's good?
What is good, man? I got a surprise for you.
Wait, what? What's the surprise?
You're on a podcast right now.
Let's go. Let's go.
You're literally talking into the mic.
I have
Is this a good time for to steal 2 minutes of your life?
This is the best time. Couldn't be a better time.
Amazing.
Who
So
is this? Mike Kinnebrew?
I'm with Hill Elliott right now. We're just having a little
What up,
one-on-one. This is Eric Hangartner.
Oh, Eric.
And Eric also went to the University of Georgia.
Great artist.
Plays in a band called Walden, and he also has a solo project as well. He's doing it all over. He used to live in Nashville, lives in Denver right now. I'm begging him to come back to Nashville. We'll see if that happens. But we had just a little segment that we're just phoning a random friend in the music industry, and I was like, you know what, I'm calling my boy Eric. And
Man, I'm honored you thought of me. Thank you.
yes, and I have like one or two questions. Bill has a question you can ask after, but I wanted to ask about what you're currently working on, and then I have one more question after that I've already asked you before, but I want the listeners to hear.
Okay. All right. So what we're currently working on is Walden, the band I'm in, has been in the process for a while of making a full-length album, which is the first time we've actually done that, which is crazy because we've been a band for a long time. But we kind of like came back around to this idea that records were just really important to us. And like when we think about like the artists we're fans of, they put out records that like mean something and tell a story. And, you know, I think these days it's easy to get caught up in, like, releasing singles, and there's definitely merit to that. But we wanted to do something special. We wanted to do something that really, like, told our story. And so we have this big concept album that is going to come out next year. And that's all I'm going to say about it right
Woohoo!
now.
Nice.
What I can say is that I'm really excited to share with everybody. And honestly, the treat was just making it, and like anything that comes of it after that is just a cherry on top, because the process of making it just taught us so much as like a band and as friends. So it was a really, really cool experience.
Sounds like an episode soon. Sounds like a full episode soon. You just got to get your...
I'll come out to Nash. You say the word.
All right.
Word.
Word. And then you also have your solo project.
What did you say?
You also have your solo project going on, right?
Yeah, so I am actually, next week I'm recording the first song, so I'm doing a solo piano project, and that's going to be very different flavors. So Walden is like indie rock, alt rock, and this is going to be more like new age classical piano instrumental music, and it'll also feature like some strings and other subtle elements, but it's really just going to be mostly focused on the piano, which is like, the piano is my first true love. So, and I've always wanted to do an album and really just an artist project like this. So really excited to start sharing those tracks.
Nice.
And yeah, those are kind of the two things that I'm actually up to right now. Of course, there's like a million other projects that I want to pursue, but I'm sure you guys know how it goes. You gotta sort of prioritize your time for what's most important.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely link your stuff and Walden stuff in the description on this one, because we definitely want to share you guys' music. And then I have one more question, and then if you have one, please ask. But I thought it was really nice and insightful, especially for any listeners like wanting to just dive into the piano. Eric is the piano man. I asked Eric 2 weeks ago. I said, "Hey man, like if you were to go back and just learn the piano from what you know now, how would you learn it? Walk me through just a few things, places you would start."
Well, I'm pretty sure I said burn the piano and get a job in tech. I'm pretty sure that was my reply.
You definitely did say that.
But if you still want to do it even after you heard that advice, then I would say really, like, and this is what I told you, I think, like, the key to learning something is figuring out how to make the process fun for yourself. Unless, like, we all know, like, the freak of nature who's able to just, like, put in the work and, like, grind on the least fun types of, like, exercises and practice. But I would say for the majority of us, especially, like, artists, like, we're generally kind of lazy people. Like, creatives can be on the lazy side. And so I think it's important to figure out how can you make the practice fun for yourself. And so, what I told you and what I would definitely recommend to a lot of people is, like, the piano is such a great instrument for songwriting. And I think just learning one scale and learning all the different chords in that scale, and, like, you could go with the key of C because it's all white keys, so it's, like, a really easy place to start.
Yep.
But really learning, like, all the different chords and then taking that a step further and learning, like, how to actually, like, transpose the chords and adding color notes, so, like, adding in seconds and fourths and sevenths and ninths and all that good stuff. And I think just sort of, like, progressing along that way, because really if you just learn, like, on the first day you could learn all the chords in the major scale, like, so in the key of C you could learn all the chords, and then you could just toy around on the very first day of learning with, like, combining those chords in different sequences and starting to write songs. I mean, that's really what writing songs is.
Yep.
It can be that simple. So I think that's just such a great place to start. And then over time, just continuing to, like, add to the toolbox, like, getting more tools under your belt so that you're able to really, like, paint the picture you want on the piano. But
Yep.
I mean, I think just, like, you can come out of the gates, like, writing songs on the first day if you kind of start with that approach.
Yeah, that's a great roadmap blueprint. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. Hill, you got anything you want to say? Or are you good?
That was great. No, Eric, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you being on the
Man,
Bilby
it's an
Ella
honor.
Show.
I want to do it in person at some point. So let's chat. I'd love to come to Nash.
All right, buddy.
We'd love that.
Thanks for answering.
All right. Take care, guys.
See you, man. Bye.
That was good stuff.
Yeah.
I love Eric. We went out skiing with Eric year before last.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a good time. I was definitely the most inexperienced skier there, say no more.
Hey, but you went on the hardest run in Breckenridge.
Yeah. I think I hit that tree the hardest that day. And Eric could attest to it.
Yeah. You looked great though. Nothing, no nose job or anything.
Yeah, he said I fly well, and that I can confirm. I do have video evidence of flying well, which I might have to input on this part of the podcast. But yeah, so I mean, as far as what Eric had to say, one thing that stood out to me was just he was saying that Walden, just the process of making the record and stories. I want to jump back to that for a second because I think that does harken back to really what you and myself really love and find a lot of purpose in, and that is making records kind of the old way. A lot of people probably don't realize this, but it used to be that people would go gather in a music studio, which aren't as sexy as you would think. I mean, there are some really nice ones here in Nashville, but generally kind of cruddy. And jump in a room and collaborate together and record a song. And that's what I really love. That's what William really loves. And so that's what we do. And it's certainly at today's world, there's a lot that happens inside of a computer, and that's not a wrong way to do it. We collaborate that way ourselves. But to Eric's point, like, making records that way is really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see that he has this, like, renewed, like, sense of this next album with his band. Yeah, and the way they're working together, and I'm sure that's super special for him. And then on top of that, he's on his solo career. I think a lot about him, and that's why I called him. I was like, we need to get a little snippet preview of Eric, and definitely we'll have him on the podcast.
Yeah,
but
he's awesome. So William, as far as writing goes and collaborating goes, how does a song typically happen for you? I mean, I know because we live together and I get to collaborate and see that. But for the people that don't, I mean, you started out playing guitar, and once you moved to Nashville, or when you were back in Atlanta, kind of got into the computer demo side of things.
Started playing guitar very casually in high school and college, and started like actually listening to songs in the country realm, like from a storytelling sense, which was great. I mean, there's no better genre to listen to a lyric to than country music. And started writing with my best friend Matthew, just with the guitar and an idea. And I learned a lot of great, just like a lot of great fundamentals that way. And I'm actually trying to kind of get back to a little bit of that simplistic view, which we can get to in a little bit, of writing music. But after doing that for a couple of years, I was still trying to find my voice. Like, of what do I want to say? What do I want to, like, what is truly me? How do I want to sound? What is my sound? Which I think is a part of everybody's journey, even songwriters' journeys, like not just artists. Because, I mean, I think you would believe, too, that, like, artists or songwriters are artists, too, in their way.
For sure.
But quickly moved from writing that way towards learning how to produce music in a box, like on the computer, using some sort of system. Started out in Logic, and then went to FL Studio, and then went to Ableton. And that's when
you're home in Ableton. Right?
Yeah, and that's when Dave, Serene, and I started making dance music, and that's when I really got into like really learning the technicals on how to create a track and what's compression and how to organize a session. And making dance music was so much fun because it freed me up to like just explore sonically, whereas when I played just guitar, it felt at the time very just one-dimensional. And so I went from writing country music to making dance music, and really was just focused on the feeling and the sound and how can I make something sound expensive, like electronically. But to me, like that's really fun. Didn't necessarily find my voice there either. But I think it was part of finding my voice, and then went from there to really just focusing on, I'm just going to focus on singing and crafting a song and not really worry about the way I do it, just focused on my voice and collaborating with people more. And I think that's kind of what my journey has been. I'm trying to dive into piano a little bit more. I'm trying to dive into that older way of working, like when I did with Matthew on the guitar, but with starting with the lyric first. Because the past few years, I've been so focused on melody and the way I sound and the way something feels, which is great. I love that. I want to keep that part of collaboration and writing. But also I want to dive a little bit more into lyric and trust myself that I can write something down and then make a melody out of it.
Right.
And knowing that I can do it, because I that's a big part of my strength. Now I want to dive a little bit more into what's my message going forward. What do I want to say? I kind of figure out, I'm kind of glad and comfortable around how I sound, but what do I want to say going forward? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
That's kind of where I am. How about you? What's your journey been like, and how's it stayed the same? How's it changed? From a creative standpoint.
Two great questions. First, I've always started with the guitar. Pretty much every idea that I have, unless I'm intentionally going into a session, like we're starting with a track. And typically for me, that comes kind of all at one time, melody and lyric, or I see a lyric idea and I've got a guitar nearby, and bam, I'm off running. And I'd say more times than not, I'll write like a verse and a chorus, or most of a verse and a chorus, and then it kind of goes on standby. Sometimes I'll flesh out a full song, and other times I'll really wrestle with it and revisit. But there's 3 or 4 ideas pretty consistently every day. I'm not the best at recording those ideas, so going back. But all that to say, like I like that part, and if it can stand on its own 2 legs with just me and a guitar, then it's something that's like, all right, and I think that's one way I've improved. Like, okay, that sounds like something worth diving into. That sounds like me. There's more juice to that to squeeze, and that one doesn't. I can probably kind of go over here in the trash pile, which I rarely, go back. There's some gold in there though. Like sometimes I will go back and be like, oh yeah, that was a good lyric. But I'm probably mostly lyric first.
Yeah.
As opposed to like melody first.
Yeah. I've loved doing the whole, let me get this vibe and this verse to verse pre-chorus and then chorus. If I can get that down from like a melody standpoint of like, how does it sound? If I were to hum it, what would be the whole verse to chorus? I love doing that as like a roadmap and guardrails to work with. I still think that's a great part, but I want to experiment a little bit more with, what if I started with writing lyrically a verse to chorus and not thinking about the melody yet? Just truly, if I was writing a letter or a little message.
Yeah, that's difficult for me to do in my head without any sort of cadence.
Yeah.
But like...
But trust, if assuming that you did get the cadence later, then if you could say, okay, I'm going to assume I get the cadence later, just throw that to the side and just write down like, okay, this seems like a section, this seems like this section, this seems like a section. Of course, there's no rhythm. I want to get to that because I know we can. And the reason I know we can is because I've already used this kind of, Matthew talks about it a lot. In math, there's this term called U substitution, I believe. U substitution. Basically, it's just throw away that variable for a second. Let's work on these variables. We'll get there because we're going to work on these variables, and it's going to allow us to understand what is that variable later. But if we focus on it now, it's just not. It's a lot harder to focus on it now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's proven to work out very well. And so that now I kind of want to flip the script a little bit and now start writing with, okay, what did I journal on the past 10 days? Is there a common thread in this journal?
Yep.
What do I tend to write? And then just write again towards that and then be like, okay, do I have any kind of verse to chorus or flow in these lyrics? Okay, great. Now I will write. How does this make me feel? Okay, I'm really good with figuring out feeling and melody. So if lyrics can give me a feeling, then I can get to melody and rhythm. And does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I want to start working on going forward, just a little bit. It doesn't have to be like all the time, but I think it's a new fun way at least for me to create. I know some people create like that. Like Richie was talking about that. Like sometimes they just write from a lyric.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're kind of touching on is how you form out of clay and how you polish.
Yeah.
Like for me, I definitely form out of clay. Like I'm more comfortable once the lyric is there.
Yeah.
And then, go on and go, all right, yeah, maybe we try something different with the melody here or there or whatnot. But I'm comfortable once the lyric is there.
Yeah.
And like a general melody and chord structure.
Yeah. Well, take, let's say from your project right now, your songs right now, take one of the songs that you're pretty excited about. Can you walk me through a little bit of how that became?
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I guess I'll do the song. There's one called Glitter in My Veins that started out, I was laying in bed. It was like late at night, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was watching a interview, I think, of like Blake Lively on one of the shows, Ellen or some. And one of the YouTube comments like top comments said that girl just has glitter in her veins.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's great. I, pretty much immediately jumped out of bed, grabbed my guitar, and that one wrote pretty fast, 45 minutes or an hour maybe. And I just picked it up, and that lick pretty much immediately came. And then when I close my eyes, I'm with her out on a farm somewhere with kids running around. It was just what was true in my heart, And so those are my favorite to write. But yeah, from there, I stayed up all night. I made a demo and sent the demo over to Monroe, which was episode 1 for those of you listening. And he produces our music. And Monroe was like, yeah, we need to cut that song. But I was comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Like once I had, that initial demo in, it was like, yeah, that one's a keeper.
But you also wrote it really fast.
Yeah, and I think that's my favorite lyrics are the ones that I tend to write pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like there's so many of those that I want to go and record and release. It's just right now I feel like we're both on the cusp of that season where we've got consistent flow of making and recording and also releasing, which I have ached for a decade. So to be finally here and stepping into that season is like, it feels very peaceful, like what you were saying on the last episode.
Yeah.
I'm definitely in the same spot. It's like, okay, this is go time. I look at artists, like even take Chris Stapleton. I mean, I don't have a Chris Stapleton voice. Most generational talents don't. But like Chris released his first record in 2015 and he was born in 78. So that's like 37, 38 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm 29 going on 30. I like what I do for work. I like the people that I work with musically. We're at the very front. We're early. And for me, it's not about being on a stage. It's about the collaboration and making music and the purpose in it.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's so much perspective. Like sure. Like if the metric is only first release, then you can kind of say, all right, well, where are you on the spectrum of early and late? Yeah. But there's also like, we've made music. Now we found a way we really love making music.
Yeah.
And some people have music out there that maybe they're not as appreciative, or they're under a strict label contract and they're not really making the music they really, really want to make.
Yeah.
So like there's so many variables there too, of like, man, we're when we were talking in the last, the first half of the episode, like, man, we really do feel like we're at home. Like part of it's the team. All right. We wanted to talk about just
that is a big part of Nashville and moving here, and it's finding your tribe and your people, and that does take time.
Yeah. And I'm sure obviously there's change. There's always going to be new people to collaborate with, but finding some of those people that I can trust and know they'll actually listen and they're not just there to make a buck.
Right.
But they really love it. And hearing what they have to say and offer, not just like the good feedback, but hey, what if we tried this? For instance, I'll give you a great example with Monroe, especially like people wondering what he's done on our projects. I'll just give you one example of the first song I'll release, called What's Real. We had finished it. We had gone into the mixing stage where, all the volume levels and EQs, everything's sitting nice, and pretty, whether you're listening on the phone speakers, car speakers, headphones. We had our mix notes from the first mix session of that song. And I asked Monroe, I said, hey man, so give me your download on the notes, and I'll send you over my notes first. I wanted to see what he had to say first before I gave my notes. And he said, well, I don't have any mixed notes today, but I do have one thing I want to give to you, and it might sound like a curveball, and I know you want to release the song, but man, I just feel like we got to do it. I just think it's really going to take it home. That's what a producer does. They see my vision, they add on to it. The producer knows how to take it home. And that taking it home, or that phone call, led to a big orchestra section for the end of the song, which really makes it full.
Yeah, blues.
And now I can't think about it without those strings.
Mm-hmm.
But all that to say, Monroe cared enough to say, hey man, I know we've been working on this song for over a year, and I know you want to get it out, but there's one thing I want to try. You know, like that, to me, that means a lot. And he did it for free.
Yeah.
And so that's just an example of finding somebody. Like, that's an example of finding someone I can trust, and knows that they want to make something great, and it's not just another song.
Right.
So Monroe's a teammate.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, man, I think like vision, because we've both gone in and recorded with some similar people, some common characters, some new characters, and the way that we've done our music projects is we went to different studios here in Nashville and cut them all live in a room. So piano player, drummer, guitar player, ourselves singing, jump in and figure out the composition of it, and then cut it live. And then after that, go back and re-record some vocals and guitars and that kind of thing. Add some other layers, but for me, that's been the most exciting part. And I think like my vision has changed even in the making of it. Because before it was, for me, like, okay, how do I make enough, save enough to go and make the music that I want to make? The career will figure out itself on the back end. I just want to figure it, and that's still in mind, but that has changed to now where it's like, oh wow, I just love this part of it. Like, I mean, traveling and being on the road would be fun, but this part is awesome. You know, I think making independent music with people, it's refreshing. It's really refreshing for me now. 'Cause like you said, there is no label control. There is no publishing control. It's kind of inspiring because, you know, we're bootstrapping this and doing this podcast, and it's fun. It's interesting. We're four guys that live in a house in Nashville, Tennessee, like all making music together. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And the people that we get to work with and whatnot. So, yeah, I guess I'm saying all that to say, like, the process of making and creating, there's change in that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exciting too.
Yeah.
So
you talking like also like the lessons learned?
yeah. I mean, let's dive into that. As far as like, so we've both gone and done, call it an official session, and we've come out each with 5 or 6 songs that we're wrapping up and going to release, and excited to do that. And we'll probably get to that on the podcast as well. But, now that you've gone through that process once, kind of one full cycle, what would you do differently now? Yeah.
The good news is I don't think I would change one person.
Yeah, that's good.
In my day work, not non-music work, always look through the lens of, and some people that are listening are going to laugh, but people, then process, and then technology.
Yeah.
Like there's the people, the governance, then the processes, the workflows, the logic behind it all, and then the technology that supports. The people, and when I'm looking back on something, when I'm QAing like a lessons learned, is they're great. I wouldn't change a thing. Maybe add another guitar player in there, sometimes for some overdubs a lot earlier or already in the process. But people-wise, if I had to break it down, good. Process-wise, I would say a couple of changes. The first song, if you remember, that I did was I was so gung-ho about doing the thing live, like recording my voice and getting everything just done live, as opposed to getting like a scratch vocal and then the band rehearsing to that vocal. I think because it takes away an element and a variable. Sometimes people would like to do it, but my voice wasn't even like, I was coming out of a cold. Like, it just wasn't going to be realistic anyways. So just to say like, oh, let's do this 13 times, record this 13 times, took up a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so whereas we could have used that time to come back and maybe do some overdubs or revision a certain part. So I'd say that mainly from the process standpoint. I could go into other things. And then technology wise, or like just like instruments and stuff. Yeah, there were a couple things like, there's a lot of bleed, in some of the tracks that maybe for the general listener won't hear, but I heard and Monroe heard. Like, there's some stuff like Gabe's playing on the B3 and like the mic on the B3 is in the same room. So now the mic's picking up not only the B3 sound, but Gabe, changing like all the different gauges on it. So you hear this quick, quick. So it kind of sounds like a side stick at the wrong time.
Interesting.
In some of the songs, and it's fine. It's not a huge deal, but like I would say I'd probably make sure we get that bleach, add that as like a checklist item into the list. And there's some other things, but I want to let you speak.
As far as like what I would change.
Yeah, like lessons learned.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first session for me was overwhelming. I wanted to do it big and right. And what that looked like to me was, like you said, was staffing, hiring the right people.
Yeah.
And I think that we both nailed that. I mean, gosh, on a few of the songs that I've got cooking in the oven, I love what each of those guys did. Mark Hill crushed it.
Yeah.
What Jeff Roach added on keys on Wasting Today, it's just beautiful. Mm-hmm. But going into like the next project, I do think that I'd go in best, like I said earlier, like there were a couple of songs on this go that were visioned out but not lyrically done, and trying to complete that on the back end has proven to be difficult. Like, it's hard for me to really get into it in the same way, which is totally a real thing.
Yep.
You can will yourself to do it, but it's difficult to really, will yourself to make something inspiring. But all that to say, the ones that I did go in completed, like they came out and I really liked them. And so that's what I would say is going in next time. It's like, instead of having it sonically figured out, having it more, lyrically, melodically sorted out.
That, I think you're touching on this a little bit too, but I think it'd be nice to have some wiggle room left out for the end of the day, like maybe like an hour and a half or 2 hours of wiggle room.
Yeah.
To be able to say, okay, we touched every song, but let's go back and do a fresh listen of some of these songs. And let's pick out one song that if we needed to just completely change up and do like a different version, let's do it.
Yeah. That'd be cool. So almost like a reprise, one single take version.
Yeah, like, because there's just, I don't know about you, but
that's cool.
There were a couple times in my session that had this vision in my head and I thought I communicated it clearly. And it wasn't clear enough.
Yeah.
And so I think it would have been nice to have some time to be able to, okay, what if the rhythm of this song in this section was not XYZ, but it was more this or whatever, because then that could change the whole vibe of the song. So you need a couple hours to really hammer that out. But if you had a little bit of that wiggle room to like know that you spent the time needed to really suss something out for a song or an idea, that way you could go back and be like, okay, we have this or this,
Right.
That would feel kind of nice. So that would be another thing I'd change.
So as far as like this last project and call it the next project, how has your purpose in it been carved out? Or like, because it seems to me like this period hasn't been about getting, one big release and, promoting this 5-song release. It's been more about the creation for you. Like, talk a little bit about that. Like, what's your mission with this, if any, and do you want to do another project? What does that look like? Where are you at?
Yeah. I finally learned what it's like to finish something
that's big, William.
Yeah. Like I have finished songs, made songs before, but like if I had to like really add color to this, is like this is with my voice on it. And like what I wanted something to sound with my voice. It's one thing to produce a song or make a dance hit or write a song. It's another thing to do all that and then put your voice on it. Put my voice, or it's just a little bit more personal for me. Maybe sometimes some people don't care, but like I really want the songs I write to be timeless. Like I want to be able to look back in 30 years and say, I can still sing that, and that be my voice. Now I've written other songs that I would never sing in 30 years.
Yeah.
But like,
me too.
That's just not my filter. So I like to be able to finish something that personal is super exciting. So I'm in this like final finishing part of my life. I'm looking forward to the creating new part in the next season after like releasing this. Like I don't really have any expectations for releasing. I just want to be able to say, hey, like here's this. Hope you like it. I know there's so much talk about like release structure and stuff, and I'm going to work on some of that, but I'm not going to obsess over it because that's just not why I love making music in the first place. I'm not trying that. I don't want that to be part of my story. And that's just personal. It's not like I don't know. I don't really care as much about that, at least right now. I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind, but, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at, right now in season of life and going into the next project. I don't know yet. I really, there's a couple of songs like on my radar that I'm liking that I know sound like me. But again, like I was saying earlier, I kind of want to take a little bit more emphasis on the messaging and what really know and believe in what I have to say. Like I still want to make feel good songs and stuff like that. I love that. But also like what are the weighted songs? Like if I had to make another What's Real, what would that be? That's kind of what I'm answering right now.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I know you have new projects going on too. As you're like figuring out to finish these other ones, you have all these other ones in the bucket. How do they compare to the ones you're finishing right now?
I think what I envision at this point with music, I mean, you said something profound. It's simple, but finishing something is very rewarding. And I've never really gone through a release cycle. And I don't have like huge plans for, radio tour or any of that stuff, but, getting into a flow of that and just releasing songs that tell the honest story of my life, you know. I want to leave a trail of that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the What's Real kind of heavy, weighty songs, that's like Hill 101.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of thrive there. Yeah, I mean, I think going into the next project, I have a much clearer grasp of, okay, sonically, this is what I want to go for. I already have the lyric, like going through this process has definitely cleared out, like, all right, because I've always liked concept records and things that are very, like, this has a lot of weight to it. So this isn't, for me, about getting songs out and growing an audience as much as it is like, no, man, I really worked on, this was a season of my life. These songs are all batched together and related.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, for you to enjoy. Like, that's it.
Just truly expressing yourself.
Yeah.
Definition.
So, you know, going into the next studio session, I think I would have much more clarity on that front just because I've done it before, and the familiarity, it was so overwhelming the first time.
Yeah.
You know, there's just so much going on, so much technology. The fact that you're in the room where so many of your other records, like, it's just so much. And then wanting to take care of the people there and cater food and all that kind of stuff, like, it just happens so fast. I would be able to be much more present.
Yeah.
Which is really where I do my best work.
Yeah. And we're literally talking about lessons learned because we didn't do it perfect.
Right.
It's just not, it's so refreshing.
Yeah.
Like, we're learning from each, like, it's funny that so much of our music and creative journey is where it is now because we happen to live in the same house.
Mm-hmm.
I know Monroe talked about that in the first episode of just the attraction in Nashville. Like, get there and, like, meet people and find your people. Man, it really does, like, start with the people. Like, I don't know where have you ever thought about, like, if we didn't live together?
Yeah, the same music wouldn't be in formation or out into the world eventually. Yeah. I mean, I will say I could move back to Georgia today and be perfectly satisfied.
Yeah.
And that's I'm really thankful to be that thankful.
Yeah.
You know, at this point, 7 years into Nashville, we've gotten the podcast off and going, and there's some, like, dopamine hit to that where it's like, okay, I've got a consistent flow. Like, there's content going out into the world, and, like, that's always been something that's felt very inauthentic for me.
Yeah.
Trying to do content and music that is also, like, authentic. It's like, here I am in front of a camera. I don't know. Just not my thing. But, yeah, I mean, starting to tell the story, it's go time now.
Yeah.
Like, we're just at the very beginning. So that's exciting.
I wanna give you a couple before we end. I want to give you a couple questions.
Okay.
So
Great.
I asked a couple people also, like, off the Instagram poll about just, like, can you think of one or two questions we could bring up on the podcast? And I reached out to Cameron Dimon, Lil Cam.
Great. Love Cam.
Brilliant rapper too. But he just does it for fun, which is great. It's a perfect person to ask because he's just, like, he's in between the general listener and, like, somebody who really is, like, at least pursuing it as a hobby like we are, or side passion, whatever we want to call it. Life passion. I don't know. It doesn't matter. He came up with 7 questions.
Great.
I know. And I haven't read these to you, and these are, like, fresh off my mind now. So, and we can answer any of them. First is, you kind of hit on this a little bit. Do you write for yourself or the listener?
I write for myself.
Do you think people who write for the listener objectively become more successful or less successful?
I don't think you can make that objective, but if you could make it objective and you measure success by what? Money?
Yeah.
I'd say I would make the bet that people who wrote for themselves ended up making more money.
Yeah. Okay. How do you balance originality versus honoring the artists you love and are inspired by?
That's a great question.
That's a great Cam with the just gold.
Now, can you read it one more time?
Yeah. how do you balance originality versus honoring the artists you love and are inspired by?
So would that be like influences?
Yeah.
Like in the creation process? Am I understanding that? Like, how do
Yeah.
you honor? That is a good question. I think John Mayer said one time that you find your own artistic voice in failing to try and imitate your heroes. And so I think that was a really great way of putting that. I'd say for me, like, I don't really balance it because most of my brain space is in the lyric.
Yeah.
In lyric land. So trying to like come up with good metaphors, that I don't feel like I struggle to be original with. But I mean, obviously trying to find good metaphors is difficult. What about you?
Also think is like one answer from my perspective would be is have a few influencers. Don't just have one or two. And that would help you hide your sources in a way, not in a weird, like I have to like hide who I'm influenced by, but more so like nobody wants to hear, oh man, you sound just like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to hear that, but that's out there. I can name a few people who sound or trying to sound just like, I mean, Matt Scott talked about it.
Yeah.
Like people trying to sound like Morgan Wallen. Like there's a few people that literally are trying to sound just like him in voice and in production and lyric, like everything. So have a couple of.
Yeah. I mean, the answer to that question then is just don't do that and you'll be good.
Yeah. And don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
But, okay. Like maybe one or two more.
Well, and really quick to touch on that, I do think that if you're focused on is this original or is this not original, then the focus is probably in the wrong place. And the reason is that you can always keep creating. And at first, like I could definitely speak for my first songs. One, they were trash, and it's like digging a well. You're gonna have Ed Sheeran had said it this way: it's like digging a well. You hit water, it's gonna be dirty water for a while, but eventually it'll get clear. Yeah, and I think that's true. So keep doing it. The second thing is, like when you don't criticize it while you're making it. Like make it first, and then come back to it. Like don't be the critic at the same time that you're creating. Like you need to create it and then be your own worst critic.
Yeah, that makes sense. We've touched on some of these. What do you wish you could unlearn in order to write more freely?
That's a good question. Do you have an answer?
I don't know. I'm going to think about that one for a second.
I would have to say anchoring my hooks to the end of the chorus.
What do you mean? Like
my choruses always end with the hook.
Oh, got you.
Like that's the revelatory moment.
Okay.
Is the end of the chorus.
Yeah.
And I don't have a ton of songs that come in with the hook. Like the first example I think of is like Something Like Olivia.
Yeah.
Something like Olivia.
Yeah.
And that is the chorus. Yeah. It's really simple.
Yeah.
Something
that's
like
true.
Olivia,
so like less
Olivia.
Formulaic. If you could just be a little bit.
Yeah, I think I get very lyrically intense. And would like to just like vibe.
All right, I'm going to ask these two questions and you can pick one.
All right.
So either this one, if aliens landed and asked you to explain what music is, what song are you playing them first and why?
Next.
Or if you could erase one music industry rule, what would it be?
Music industry rule?
Yeah, if you could erase.
Man, those questions could not be more different. Like one
I know.
is like way out in the land of color, and the other one is like concrete building
Yeah.
question. So I'm going to answer both of them naturally. How would I explain music to an alien, and what song would I choose? I would explain, can aliens hear? I guess they can if you're explaining it to them. You're not using hieroglyphics. I would explain it by noise, and, you know, we make these different devices that make different noises, and this is what it sounds like. And I would probably play, oh God, like, how do you put all of music into one song? We Will Rock You. I mean, it's not even like that intense of a music song, but like there's a build.
Are you like foreshadowing that humanity will beat aliens in that song?
We definitely would beat aliens. Like, I for sure am ready to beat the aliens. And the rest of my life will be continuing to prepare for said aliens. Like, you don't want to mess with Hill Elliott and the Hill Elliott Fortress. That's not a game you want to mess with.
Yeah.
The other question was one thing that we would change about the one music industry rule.
If you could erase one. I go straight to just the songwriter split that Matt Scott talked about.
Yeah, I would probably go up that rabbit hole myself. I mean, songwriters are just extremely underpaid.
Yeah.
And I think the outside looking in, it's like, oh yeah, songwriters make a ton of money. Like, that's their way to career, you know. Mm-hmm. And that used to be true. You could still make great money doing it if you got a catalog sale, but all that revenue is kind of shifted to live tickets, and, you know, I would change that.
Yeah.
Somehow figure out a way to for songwriters in the songwriting middle class to bolster that.
Yeah, I think we're just going to keep saying that until it happens.
Yeah, I mean,
thanks for asking.
I plan to be here and around and in Nashville as that tide changes. So
yeah,
just want to be a part of that voice.
Well, anything else you want to wrap up?
I think that's it, man.
I'm looking forward to having Mark Hill on.
I know January is going to be really exciting.
Yeah,
and like going into the new year, we've just got some really exciting guests. So stick around. We'll keep you in the loop. Let us know what you think.
Thanks for listening.